Welcome to NTD News. I'm Kevin Hogan. Here are today's top stories. President Biden meets with NATO's leader in preparation for his first overseas trip as president. What global challenges do they discuss? The ransom money that Colonial Pipeline paid hackers has been mostly recovered. This as the Department of Justice gives a warning about the future of cyber attacks. The U.S. and Australia joined forces in an effort to take down the transnational criminal underworld. Authorities monitor conversations on a messaging app, leading to a huge drug bust and hundreds of arrests. Senator Cruz says Facebook could be taken to court by people who were censored after saying the virus could come from the Wuhan lab. It happened after Facebook corresponded with Dr. Fauci, then changed its rules on which posts are allowed. The FDA approves a new Alzheimer's treatment. It's said to prevent memory loss. But is it a miracle cure, or is it too good to be true? Controversy surrounds the new drug. President Biden's getting ready to meet with world leaders, including NATO allies, in the coming days. NATO's leader says the global balance of power is shifting with the rise of China, and allies need to face the challenges together. NTD's Jessica Beatty reports.
President Biden discussed China and Russia with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg at the White House Monday in preparation for next week's NATO summit. Stoltenberg says China presents some opportunities for trade, but it's also a major security threat.
China will soon have the biggest economy in the world. They already have the second largest defense budget, the biggest navy. They are investing heavily in advanced military capabilities, and they don't share our values.
He said we can see that in China's suppression of democracy protests in Hong Kong and how it treats minorities. As for Russia, Stoltenberg welcomed Biden's upcoming summit with Vladimir Putin, saying dialogue is not a sign of weakness.
We are strong, we are united, and then we can talk to Russia, and we need to talk to Russia, partly to strive for a better relationship, but even if we don't believe in a better relationship with Russia, we need to manage a difficult relationship with Russia.
Thank you, Janet.
And U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says Biden's meeting with Putin is a vital part of defending America's interests.
There is never any substitute for leader-to-leader engagement, particularly for complex relationships. But with Putin, this is exponentially the case. He has a highly personalized style of decision-making, and so it is important for President Biden to be able to sit down with him face-to-face.
Ukraine's president has raised concerns about the meeting and about the nearly completed natural gas pipeline from Russia to Germany. It would allow Russia to bypass Ukraine. Sullivan said Biden spoke to Ukraine's president about all of the issues.
President Biden was able to tell President Zelensky that he will stand up firmly for Ukraine's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and its aspirations as we go forward. And
Biden's attending the G7 summit this weekend, followed by a trip to visit EU leaders, then NATO allies. He'll meet with Putin at the very end. It'll be Biden's first overseas trip as president. Jessica Beatty, NTD News.
The Department of Justice recovered millions of dollars from the ransom money Colonial Pipeline paid hackers. You may recall the cyber attack against the company in May caused a temporary gas shortage and a surge in fuel prices. NTD's Christina Kim has the details.
Today, we turned the tables on DarkSide.
The United States has recovered most of the ransom money paid to hackers after the cyber attack on Colonial Pipeline.
The Department of Justice has found and recaptured the majority of the ransom Colonial paid to the DarkSide network in the wake of last month's ransomware attack.
Colonial Pipeline paid their hackers nearly $5 million in ransom money. And now, the federal agency seized nearly 64 bitcoins, valued at around $2.3 million. That's thanks to a search warrant authorized by a U.S. magistrate judge. This search was a part of the department's new Ransomware and Digital Extortion Task Force, and it was their first operation of this kind. Following the cyber attack from the Russia-based hacker group DarkSide, America's largest fuel pipeline was forced to stop its operations in May, causing gas shortages and a price hike in the East Coast. After the incident, DarkSide claimed it was disbanding last month. And on Sunday, U.S. Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo said these attacks are here to stay and, if anything, will intensify. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco urged organizations to pay attention to the threat of ransomware attacks and to invest in cybersecurity defense and other preventative measures now.
We will continue to use all of our tools and all of our resources to increase the cost and the consequences of ransomware attacks and other cyber-enabled attacks.
The CEO of Colonial Pipeline began testifying before Congress this morning.
Numerous websites went offline after an apparent widespread outage at cloud computing service company Fastly. Popular websites of all types across the internet were affected. Dozens of high-traffic websites like the New York Times, CNN, Twitch, and the United Kingdom government's homepage were unreachable. Reddit, Amazon, PayPal, and Spotify also suffered problems. Some websites have been able to restore service by switching systems to other networks. Fastly acknowledged an issue just before 6 a.m. Tuesday morning, New York time. It said in repeated updates on its website that it was looking into the issue. Its latest update says the root issue has been resolved, but some problems will persist into customers' websites. Fastly is one of the world's most widely used content delivery network providers. It offers groupings of servers that let users connect faster to websites. U.S. and Australian authorities hacked into an app that criminals use to read millions of encrypted messages. They seized over 32 tons of drugs and arrested over 100 suspects.
Over 200 people have been arrested in a high-tech sting operation between the U.S. and Australia in what Prime Minister Scott Morrison called a heavy blow to organized crime. Australian officials said Tuesday Operation Ironside has captured suspects hailing from 18 different countries so far, many of them involved in the global narcotics trade. The joint operation hacked into an encrypted app called Anom, popular with organized crime groups, and uncovered millions of encrypted messages. Australian Police Commissioner Rhys Kershaw said those arrested included members of outlaw motorcycle gangs, mafias, and crime syndicates.
As of today, we have charged 224 alleged offenders, including 525 charges laid, shut down 6 clandestine laboratories, acted upon 21 threats to kill, including saving a family of 5, and seized 104 firearms and weapons and almost $45 million in cash.
Operation Ironside was conceived by Australian police and America's FBI in 2018. Police were able to monitor the messages of a prominent Australian underworld figure who used the Anom app to communicate with his associates via customized phones. Kershaw called the messages very brazen and said there was no attempt to hide behind codified conversation. On Monday, Australian police issued their largest number of search warrants in one day. Authorities expect more charges in the weeks ahead.
Australia's neighbor New Zealand has joined the operation, hacking into conversations on the messaging app to make 35 arrests and place more than 900 charges on the criminal underworld. Senator Ted Cruz says Facebook could be taken to court by those users who had their posts about the virus originating in a leak at the Wuhan lab censored. That's because recent emails from Dr. Fauci show that he talked with Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. From that point on, Facebook started censoring information about the Wuhan lab and a potential leak of the virus, but then they changed their rules. Here's more. Senator Ted Cruz alleges that Facebook was acting at the command of the federal government in regards to what information about the virus they allowed on their platform. That's because Dr. Fauci's emails show that he corresponded with Mark Zuckerberg, and then Facebook started censoring information about a potential lab leak from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. But then, on May 26th, one day after Fauci says the virus may have come from the lab, Facebook changed its policy. It announced that posts saying that COVID is man-made will no longer be banned on the platform.
They stopped censoring it with a flip of a switch. That lays a very strong argument that Facebook is operating as a state agency, and that opens very significant legal liability.
Facebook has not immediately replied to a request for comment. Calls to investigate the origin of the virus picked up steam after a Wall Street Journal report. It said that 3 researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology started showing symptoms so severe they had to go to the hospital. After this report came out, President Biden took action. He directed his national security advisor to develop a report on the virus's origins. That includes the possibility that it came from a laboratory accident. Senator Ron Johnson recently told Epoch TV's American Thought Leaders the censorship from Facebook and YouTube needs to be addressed. YouTube censored Johnson for talking about alternative treatments for COVID. And on Monday, Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee called to investigate Fauci. She says since Fauci and Zuckerberg were in cahoots, that's reason enough for Congress to investigate. Arizona's Attorney General wants to stop a hotel from becoming a processing center for illegal immigrants and unaccompanied minors. The hotel is near a school in a residential area. Attorney General Mark Brnovich wrote a letter to the White House seeking help. He says authorities didn't notify him of the contract with the Scottsdale Hotel, even though there are important public safety issues involved. In a Twitter post, Brnovich said the Biden administration is converting an unnamed hotel into a detention facility for roughly 1,200 illegal immigrants. An ICE spokesperson told Fox News that the manner of housing will conform to legal requirements for safety, but Brnovich argues that the detainees could be released into Scottsdale or nearby communities. Over the weekend, roughly 200 people protested outside the hotel. In a tight Texas election, a mayoral seat in a Democratic stronghold flipped Republican. The results are drawing a lot of speculation about a shift in the Hispanic vote. NTD's Miguel Moreno has more from the mayor-elect.
Because I thought hopefully McAllen wants somebody that has the knowledge, the experience to lead and take it to a higher level. They did.
Republican Mayor-elect Javier Villalobos won the election by just over 200 votes. It's unusual for the mostly Democrat county.
It's kind of opened up. It's a good thing because competition is always real good.
Census Bureau data says McAllen's population is 85% Hispanic or Latino, and Pew Research Center data shows that most Hispanics have for a long time identified as Democrats. This has led some to speculate that the McAllen election is part of a larger trend, that more Hispanics are going red.
Do you think that your win is part of a larger trend that more and more Hispanics are going Republican?
Well, I don't know whether it's the trend or a complete trend, but I think it played a part. I think people are more open, especially down here in McAllen and South Texas, to say, you know what, I am conservative. There's nothing wrong with being conservative. As a matter of fact, the Hispanic community is pretty conservative, but sometimes I guess because of our parents, our grandparents, they don't really, or it's been accustomed to vote Democrat.
We contacted his opponent for comment, but we haven't heard back. Villalobos says he believes that his voters liked his interest in spending taxpayer money responsibly. Miguel Moreno, NTD News.
Georgia gubernatorial candidate Vernon Jones is heading to Arizona to tour the Maricopa County election audit. There, he will meet with Arizona legislators and visit the forensic audit location in Phoenix. Jones is a Republican who is challenging current Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, and he has served as Georgia State Representative. He's traveling with one-time New York City Police Commissioner Bernard Carrick, and Jones's team says a local sheriff will also join the group after they land. Auditors in Maricopa County are recounting the nearly 2.1 million ballots cast there in the presidential election. They've also been examining hundreds of election machines. Jones wants an Arizona-style audit done in Georgia and has been calling for one since November 2020. He tweeted last month that the only people that fear transparency are people with something to hide. Florida is taking action against hostile regimes that want to infiltrate the state, especially Communist China. Governor Ron DeSantis signed 2 bills on Monday targeting corporate espionage and foreign grants. NTD's Allison Lee has that story.
If you look right now, there is no single entity that exercises a more pervasive, nefarious influence across a wide range of American industries and institutions than the Communist Party of China.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed 2 bills into law on Monday that aim to protect his state from influence from the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, and other hostile foreign regimes. The governor tells NTD something needs to be done because the situation has already got out of hand.
That there's a lot of people in the United States who benefit from the largesse that's provided by the Communist Party of China. I mean, there's a reason why these athletes and these movie studios and big tech will grovel in front of the CCP. They're very critical of things that happen in the U.S., yet they won't be critical when you have slave labor camps and all these other things there that government is overseeing in China. And I think the reason is the financial.
One of the new laws bans trade secret theft and trafficking and increases penalties for such crimes. Those that steal for foreign regimes will face even higher penalties.
And you can't just have a state-controlled company come in from China and think that that's going to happen without there being any accountability or any transparency. And if you look at how they're influencing, universities are one of the top ways they're doing it. Business community, obviously, very much. And then entertainment, media, and big tech.
The other law requires all state agencies and local governments to disclose any foreign gifts or grants of $50,000 or more. The same rule applies to all entities that take grants from or have contracts with Florida state agencies or local governments. And it does more than that.
We don't allow agreements directly from the CCP with some of our universities. So like these Confucius Institutes are gone in Florida. That's not going to happen. And so I think we have the most robust protections against CCP influence that any state's done so far.
The law singles out 7 regimes and will scrutinize them harder. Communist China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, Cuba, the Maduro regime of Venezuela, and Syria. The Act on Foreign Grants will take effect July 1st, and the Act on Corporate Espionage October 1st. Allison Lee, NTD News.
President Biden is telling the Justice Department to defend a policy also held during the Trump administration. The move excludes Puerto Rico residents from receiving Social Security income benefits if they're elderly, disabled, or blind, as well as low income. Biden added that he opposes the provision, but says the Justice Department still has a duty to uphold the law and defend it in front of the Supreme Court. At the same time, Biden called on Congress to change the law so residents of Puerto Rico are no longer excluded from receiving Social Security benefits. Social Security benefits are available for U.S. citizens living in all 50 states, Washington, and the Northern Mariana Islands. But Puerto Ricans, residents of the Virgin Islands and Guam, aren't eligible. Puerto Ricans are eligible for a different program called Aid to the Aged, Blind, and Disabled, which allows for more local control but not as much federal funding. Keep an eye on your mailbox. The IRS is sending out millions of refunds for taxes paid on unemployment benefits. The agency is distributing upwards of 2.8 million refunds just this week. They're going to people who have already paid taxes on 2020 unemployment compensation. The reason? There's new legislation on the books that excludes those benefits as income. The American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 excludes up to $10,200 in unemployment compensation per taxpayer paid last year. That means taxes paid on the benefits now count as overpayments. The IRS refunds mean most affected taxpayers won't have to file an amended return. The agency says some 13 million taxpayers may qualify for the adjustment. U.S. regulators on Monday approved Biogen's treatment for a likely cause of Alzheimer's disease. That's despite controversy over whether the clinical evidence proves the drug works.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration on Monday approved the first ever drug to address an underlying cause of Alzheimer's disease, an event both hailed as a medical breakthrough by millions of Americans eager for a cure and as a controversial risk by some experts concerned about the drug's mixed clinical trial results. Biogen's treatment, aducanumab, aims to remove sticky deposits of a protein called amyloid beta from the brains of patients in the early stages of Alzheimer's, which could help stave off memory loss and other ravages of the disease. The company said it has priced the drug to be sold as Aduhelm at $56,000 a year. But some medical experts said clinical trial results were inconsistent and that more proof of the drug's effectiveness was needed, with some trial patients experiencing potentially dangerous brain swelling. Dr. Ronald Peterson, an Alzheimer's disease expert at the Mayo Clinic, called the drug's approval, quote, a big day, adding, quote, but we can't overpromise. The FDA in a statement said Biogen will need to conduct another trial after its approval to verify Aduhelm's benefit, adding, quote, if the drug does not work as intended, we can take steps to remove it from the market. Biogen has estimated that around 1.5 million Americans would be eligible for the drug, which is given monthly by infusion.
Still to come, the U.S. government is set to release a new report on UFOs. The phenomenon is riling up enthusiasts and skeptics about the possibility of extraterrestrial visitors. France sending a replica of the Statue of Liberty to the United States as a gesture of friendship. The copy is set to arrive in New York on July 4th. All that and more on NTD News. Despite the public's fascination, a leading UFO skeptic is casting doubt on an upcoming report from officials. He says the highly anticipated government report on unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP, was inconclusive. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more.
UFO enthusiasts have been looking forward to revelations about certain mysterious sightings, some that they believe the government has sought to discredit or cover up for decades. But according to a scientific researcher, the excitement may be premature. He says the unclassified report is expected to have a classified annex, and those details will not be disclosed to the public.
It's kind of a lack of detail and rigor. I really don't get the sense that they've really investigated these reports very much beyond simple asking questions like, do you know what this is? And no, I don't know what this is. And it doesn't seem to have really gone very much beyond that.
In official government terminology, UAP, short for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, has largely replaced the more traditional acronym UFO. The change came in December 2017. West says the term UAP is a broad-ranging designation to describe objects in the sky, but cautions against conflating their presence with alien spacecraft.
People are trying to say, oh, is this Chinese drones? Is this some kind of Russian spaceship? Is this alien technology? Is this some kind of natural phenomena? The reality is that each one of these cases needs to be looked at individually. And individually, we can figure out what they might be. And a lot of these cases do actually have very reasonable explanations.
In September 2019, the U.S. Navy confirmed to various media outlets that declassified military videos posted online purporting to show UFO sightings were authentic. The grainy black and white videos, titled Gimbal, Go Fast, and Flyer 1, that were taken aboard U.S. Navy fighter jets in 2004 and 2015 were released over a period of 4 months in 2017 and 2018 by To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences. The report's ambiguity means the government can't definitively rule out extraterrestrial theories, but West is still skeptical.
All the video we have is terrible. We have these blurry little black dots way in the distance, and they don't do anything amazing. We have the one from 2004 that just shows a dot that doesn't even move at all.
Even when the unclassified version of the report is released, enthusiasts and skeptics are sure to have their own interpretations. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A new report calls the period from Memorial Day to Labor Day the 100 deadliest days of summer. That's for teen driving-related crashes. The AAA Foundation of Traffic Safety released a report on new drivers ages 16 and 17. They found they were 3 times as likely as adults to be involved in a deadly crash during that time period. That's more than 7,000 people died in crashes involving teen drivers from 2010 to 2019. 3 factors commonly played a role in these tragedies. According to researchers, 60% of teen drivers killed in a crash were not wearing a safety belt. Speeding also was a factor in nearly 30% of deadly crashes involving teens. Finally, distraction played a role in nearly 60% of the accidents. Pennsylvania legislators held a rally outside of the state capitol to support the Second Amendment. They say additional legislation is needed to protect citizens' rights to bear arms. NTD's Jason Perry has more from the Keystone State.
It's called the Right to Keep and Bear Arms Rally. Dozens of Pennsylvanians gathered to support Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. Many came with AR-15s slung over their shoulders as a way to express their right to carry. And about 24 government officials attended the rally as well. State Representative Scott Perry said when it comes to gun laws, some of the lawmakers are not following the state's constitution.
In the Pennsylvania Constitution, right, the right to bear arms shall not be questioned. I don't know if it gets any more clear.
Speakers also noted new gun control laws only impact law-abiding citizens and that criminals will continue to get illegal guns illegally. State Representative David Zimmerman explained that a main reason for organizing events like this is people's distrust in the government. Rallies are a platform to voice their concerns.
And a lot of it comes from, from the whole election issue back in November, and then the COVID issue the last year has created so much distrust that's why we're having all these rallies, and it just really gets people fired up and concerned about preserving the Second Amendment.
The Biden administration has signaled that gun control is one of their top priorities. In April, President Biden signed an executive action on gun reform. But State Representative Darrell Metcalf wants to make sure that Pennsylvania's Second Amendment is not taken away.
Right now, with some of the comments that Biden has made with Pelosi and Schumer controlling the 2 halls of Congress, I think it's more important than ever for for states to push back with bills like my bill, House Bill 357, that we captured that number for a reason.
State Representative Daryl Metcalf talked about his Right to Bear Arms and Protection Act, which is meant to stop the federal government from enforcing additional gun control laws in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is also looking forward to being the next state, possibly, to have constitutional carry. Jason Perry, NTD News, Pennsylvania.
France plans to send over a smaller-scale replica of the Statue of Liberty in a gesture of friendship between the European nation and the United States. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
New York's Statue of Liberty is about to get some company. A replica will depart from Paris's Musée des Arts et Métiers on Monday and will arrive aboard a boat at Ellis Island on the 4th of July. From there, the reproduction will be transported to the French Embassy in Washington, D.C. as part of a 10-year loan. It's expected to arrive at the capital around July 14th, France's National Day. Museum director Marie-Laure Estingard said the new statue aims to rekindle the longtime friendship between France and the U.S.
You have two sculptures that both symbolize French-American friendship and the liberty of the people. And you see, between 1776 and 1789, there's a 13-year difference. So we really have a common history on the liberty of the people, the desire, the need for liberty, which is very common among the American and French people.
Measuring just under 10 feet, the statue stands around 30 times smaller than the existing piece on Liberty Island. It's one of 11 replicas made from the original cast used as a model by French sculptor Auguste Bertholdi. France sent the first Statue of Liberty to the U.S. in 1886. Towering more than 300 feet, it weighs in at about 275 tons.
Today, I think the Statue of Liberty has an influence in the United States that is clearly evident, but all over the world. You just have to look at all the copies, be it real or not, and all the representations of the Statue of Liberty. There are hundreds and hundreds.
Prominent French figures, including engineer Gustave Eiffel, the man behind the Eiffel Tower, and architect Eugene Viollet-le-Duc, who worked on Paris's Notre Dame Cathedral, were also involved in the statue's construction. New York's Statue of Liberty is one of the country's biggest tourist attractions, welcoming 4 million people annually. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Up next, many employers struggle to rehire workers, even though last month more than 500,000 new jobs opened up. We look at what some say is the cause. Scientists use a gene editing tool to find endangered fish in San Francisco. The tool cuts down the many steps in a complicated process. Stay tuned to find out more.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here, and if you're on Medicare, this is important. You're now entitled to eliminate copays and get dental care, dentures, eyeglasses, prescription coverage, in-home aids, unlimited transportation, and home-delivered meals, all at no additional cost. Plus, your zip code may have coverage with the Give Back benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month.
I called to get dental, transportation, meals, and the Give Back benefit.
With this virus situation, I called to get everything I'm entitled to. I couldn't believe I was missing out on so many benefits.
With the uncertainty of the virus, you need to get everything you're entitled to. Millions of people have trusted the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-764-1930. That's 1-800-764-1930 now.
This season, take an incredible journey through 5,000 years of culture with Shen Yun. Discover why critics are calling Shen Yun a visual feast, a pleasure to the ear, an epic tale, a must-see. Shen Yun, coming to the Palace Theater, June 26th and 27th. Tickets at shenyun.com/Stamford.
Federal prosecutors are subpoenaing material related to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's book. His writing focuses on leadership during the pandemic. The move is part of a probe into how the administration handled data around virus-related nursing home deaths. The Wall Street Journal reports on the subpoenas, citing sources familiar with the matter. It says the U.S. Attorney's Office in eastern New York wants to see contracts and correspondence. The book itself is under scrutiny for potential use of government resources to develop and promote it. A Cuomo advisor called the accusation absurd. The U.S. saw some good news on the economy front last month. More than 550,000 new jobs were added in May. The unemployment rate has again fallen below 6% for the first time since last March, but many employers say they're still having a hard time finding enough workers to fill jobs. Here's what some of them have to say.
In 74 years of business, Vic's Italian restaurant says it's never had this, a help wanted sign. As the season heats up in Bradley Beach, New Jersey, the restaurant is desperate for workers to meet summer crowds.
How important is this summer for business?
It's very important, but we can't do the customer service the way we used to. So we need more people, and I'm just fearful to some degree that if we don't have that, not every customer will understand.
77% of Americans plan to travel this summer, compared to 29% last year. A welcome sign for restaurants in summer hotspots like the Jersey Shore, closed for much of last year. This small beachside town balloons from population 4,000 to 25,000 in the summer.
How critical are these restaurants to the Bradley Beach community every summer?
Very critical, and I call it the bookends of Bradley Beach. On the east we have the beach, on the west we have Main Street.
Vic's is the biggest employer in town, with 100 employees during peak season. But right now, the restaurant can't cover 20% of its shifts, even raising hourly wages by $2 for new employees.
I just can't get people to come in and to start a new job.
Why can't you pay more? Why can't you offer more incentives?
Well, if we were to go above and beyond when this all goes away, when the crisis is over, the floor is going to fall out and inflation is going to kick in. The customers will have to absorb the cost, and we don't want to do that.
At Langosta Lounge in nearby Asbury Park, owner Marilyn Sloshback is offering bonuses to current and new employees.
Why do you think you're having such a tough time finding people to work?
Unemployment, the stimulus is killing us.
Sloshback owns 7 restaurants along the Jersey Shore and usually employs 250 people. She's operating with just 75.
I'm honest in telling them I'm pushing them, but still, I'm pushing them, and I don't think that's a healthy way to live your life.
All right.
That means longer hours for servers like Kathleen Thompson. Despite being furloughed and making just as much on unemployment, she wanted to go back to work.
And they've been good to me for 20 years. I can't say, no, I'm not coming back because I'm collecting this money. No, that's not fair to them. They need their, their employees to get their business up and running, and I was willing to come right back.
Scientists in California are using a gene editing tool to help identify endangered species of fish in the San Francisco estuary.
Scientists in California are identifying different types of Chinook salmon with a little help from Sherlock, but not the Sherlock you might know. This one stands for Specific High Sensitivity Enzymatic Reporter Unlocking. The technology helps scientists identify endangered fish by their specific genomic sequence, so they can better monitor population numbers, pinpoint their habitats, and improve conservation efforts. Andrea Schreier is an adjunct associate professor at the University of California, Davis.
The reason I think this work is important is that to conserve species well, you have to be able to identify the species accurately, and you have to know where the species is. And Sherlock is able to do both for you through different applications. If you have a species in hand, you can confirm its identity. If you don't have a species in hand and you're trying to detect DNA in the environment, it can tell you if the species is there or not.
The process begins by taking swabs of mucus from the fish. The swab collection is then added to a master mix that contains the Sherlock reaction components.
We have 2 of our fish are positive for being late run.
The reaction prompts a search for a specific genomic sequence that researchers are hoping to find. Environmental Program Manager at California's Department of Water Resources, Melinda Bearwald, explained that a major advantage of the technology is its speed. For her, it means no longer having to travel miles to a lab just to confirm the identity of a species and whether or not her work is impacting endangered or threatened fish.
Something that's so cool about Sherlock is you don't need a geneticist anymore. You can do it yourself. An ecologist can do this. And that is super powerful, that you don't have to have a lab. You don't have to have a geneticist. Other people can do it. And so that's, to me, one of the most powerful things about this, that other people can, the power of genetics is now unlocked for other people to be able to use.
Just ahead, a new virus spike is making Chinese officials nervous. They've tested 18 million people in 3 days, and citizens are emptying supermarket shelves. More in just a moment here on NTD News. $18 million virus tests in just 3 days. A new virus spike in South China's largest city is making Chinese officials nervous. NTD's Juliet Song has more on that.
The most populous city in South China is battling a surge in CCP virus cases. Official measures include 18 million virus tests over the past 3 days, and calls from authorities urging people not to go anywhere.
The virus pandemic is currently very serious. All residents, please stay at home.
Some districts are put under strict lockdown. A video circulating online shows people guarding in front of residential buildings. It appears that they are preventing residents from going out. All of this is happening in Guangzhou. The city is almost 10 times the size of New York City and is home to 18 million people. And Guangzhou is making headlines in China for its latest spike in virus cases. Of the over 100 cases in the province, over 70% were found in Guangzhou. But a local resident told NTD that he suspects authorities are underreporting the numbers. He heard from a doctor at a local hospital that there could be well over 300 cases, and some asymptomatic cases didn't make it into the official count. What makes the Guangzhou virus spike concerning is that it involves a new highly contagious variant first found in India. And local authorities are making it harder for people to leave the city. Aside from road barriers, public transportation in some areas has been put to a halt. Hundreds of flights have also been cancelled. And if people were to leave Guangzhou, they need to prove that they tested negative for the virus within the past 48 hours. The tightened regulation and strict lockdown appear to have triggered fear of potential food shortage. Videos circulating online show people fighting for food at a supermarket and empty shelves. Areas near Guangzhou are also on alert. Guangzhou sits close to Hong Kong and Macau, and authorities there are now requiring those who arrive from high-risk areas in Guangzhou to undergo a 14-day quarantine. Juliet Song, NTD News.
A new G7 tax deal is designed to make the biggest companies like Apple, Google, and Facebook pay more taxes. But now experts say Amazon might get off the hook. And groups in Normandy hold D-Day commemorations, paying tribute to American soldiers fallen 77 years ago. Find out more in just a moment.
If you're like most of us, you're probably getting fed up with the nonsense that's going on in the banking system. Did you know that top U.S. banks have recently amended their depositor terms and conditions to include the words bank failure and what's required of you in 24 hours if, or should I say when, it happens? Don't get blindsided by your bank. Call GSI Exchange today to pick up your complimentary copy of the Bank Failure Survival Guide at 866-4 424-2382. We'll also send you the required format to file with your bank within 24 hours of their failure, which is now required by the top banks to avoid freezing of your funds. Yes, the top banks can now freeze your money. The world is in a strange place, and banks are constantly changing the rules. So stay on top of the current events that really matter by calling GSI Exchange and requesting your free guide at 866-424-2382.
If your vehicle's manufacturer warranty is expired or is about to run out, you'll be on the hook for unexpected repairs. Breakdowns used to mean paying thousands out of pocket. Until now. Introducing Endurance Advantage, a vehicle protection plan with extensive breakdown coverage plus routine maintenance.
As a mechanic, I see it all the time. A customer doesn't keep up with their regular maintenance and it leads to a breakdown or worse, disqualifies their warranty.
No matter how many miles your car has, if it's under 20 years old, Endurance has you covered. That means insurance plus Endurance equals total protection. From oil and filter changes to brake pad and wiper blade replacements, Advantage provides maintenance coverage up to $3,500 per year.
With Endurance Advantage, you'll never worry about paying for covered auto repairs or regular maintenance again.
Call 800-574-6805 for a free quote. That's 800-574-6805.
G7 nations reached a historic deal that's supposed to close loopholes on tax avoidance, but now experts raise concerns. They say Amazon might still be able to escape paying more taxes. NTD's Evelyn Lee has more.
G7 nations just reached a deal on global tax reform, but Amazon could dodge the bullet. That's unless G7 leaders close a large loophole in the deal. The UK finance minister says the deal is aimed at making the tax system a better fit for the global digital age.
What countries are working towards is figuring out ways to harmonize international tax rules so there aren't pockets of avoidance activity.
And U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said it will end the race to the bottom in corporate taxation and it will level the playing field for business. Currently, big tech companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Facebook can avoid taxes by shifting their profits to subsidiaries in low-tax countries like Luxembourg, Bermuda, and Ireland. Amazon last year experienced record sales in Europe, but it didn't pay corporate taxes to Luxembourg because its headquarters there reported $1.4 billion loss.
These low-tax jurisdictions are being used as a way to finance, in a corporate structure, to finance investments elsewhere.
The historic agreement between the Group of Seven aims to tackle this loophole, but expert analysis shows Amazon might not be captured by the deal. Daniel Bunn, Vice President of Global Projects for the Tax Foundation, says that defining subsets for companies is difficult. That means loopholes are being built into the plan.
Maybe we could sell off part of our business, have lower overall sales. Maybe we could merge with a less profitable business to bring our average total profitability down. It's a really complicated kind of set of issues.
And in Amazon's case, he says the e-commerce giant has a different business model than some of the companies being targeted. Pillar 1 of the G7 deal is designed to make multinational companies pay taxes, not only where they are based, but also where they operate. But it would only apply to companies whose profit margin exceeds 10%. That's a threshold that Amazon does not hit, partly because it reinvests heavily. The second pillar that makes up the plan will set a global minimum corporate tax of at least 15%, operated on a country-by-country basis. Yellen assured Reuters that Facebook and Amazon both would be covered. Sources say that while the G7 sealed an overarching agreement, details still need to be worked out. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
D-Day commemorations in Normandy were limited due to travel restrictions, but that did not prevent locals and associations from paying tribute to American soldiers fallen 77 years ago. NTD's David Vives met with a student who was crafting bracelets to help people remember.
After 77 years, the Normandy Rift near Omaha Beach still shows the scars of World War II. The holes created by shell impacts reflect the harshness of D-Day. Commemoration ceremony at the Normandy American Cemetery and Memorial drew hundreds of people, including one U.S. veteran.
decorate the graves. Some graves that were people that I knew, and they paid the ultimate price, and they're laying here on the cemetery now.
The view over Omaha Beach was very moving for this Navy band member who attended the ceremony.
This is my first time here in Normandy, and I believe for our whole group here today, this is our first time here. It is a incredibly humbling experience to be here on this day because we know what happened here.
6,000 American soldiers died on D-Day 77 years ago, including 2,500 here on Omaha Beach. Though restrictive measures are keeping US visitors away this year, French associations are honoring the memory of these American soldiers.
Leah Arnoux is one of the Normandy residents who came to honor the American soldiers. For a couple years, she's been creating bracelets with the name of fallen soldiers that she sells at a low price.
We don't want these soldiers to be forgotten, so I wanted to create a bracelet as a way for people to show their gratitude.
Arnoux decided to spend some of her free time out of school to create the Killed in Action bracelets. Helped by her father, they came by many touching stories.
I spend quite some time speaking with people. The most touching stories are from brothers in arms.
Word of her initiative has been spread across the country. She said she has hundreds of requests and can't reply to them all. She says 90% of the bracelets are ordered from French people who want to honor American soldiers or as gifts to relatives. And some bracelets even cross the ocean and make their way to the United States. David Duvest, NTD News, Normandy.
Italian police are handing out dozens of fines for theft. Tourists there have been caught red-handed stealing seashells and sand and stones from the nation's beaches. Italian police say they've issued citations to more than 40 people in the past year. Officers have been targeting the beaches of Sardinia, where the white sand is protected. Tourists face hefty fines and even jail time for removing it. Some fines even total more than $3,500. Police say a number of people were caught with sand and shells at the airport. About 200 pounds of sand, shells, and rocks were returned to the beaches they were taken from. A Swedish company creates a new kind of electric boat that flies above the water and promises to save Venice from the harmful erosion caused by traditional boats. Scientists have pieced together one of the world's largest dinosaurs. The creature now has an official name and description and is thought to have lived down under. That and more on NTD News. A new electric boat created by Swedish company Candela hopes to be the solution to Venice's erosion problem. Here are the details.
Venice has long been in peril from the waves that motorboats create along its canals, eroding the foundations of historic buildings and threatening them with collapse. A new electric boat that flies above the water, presented during the Saloni di Nautica boat show, might be a solution. Erosion, a problem known as moto ondoso, is caused by the wakes of motorboats, water buses, and ferries washing against the walls of buildings along Venice's canals. Swedish company Candela's electric boat, the Candela C7, runs on computer-controlled hydrofoils, or underwater wings, that lift the hull into the air and make it appear to fly over the water. Candela says its technology significantly reduces moto ondoso damage.
So here in Venice you have a huge problem with moto ondoso, which is wake damage. And with our technology, when you fly above the canal level or the water level, you reduce that with 95%.
Candela says the boat travels silently on battery power, using a minimal amount of energy and creating a wake less than 2 inches high, similar to traditional rowing boats.
Before it's been impossible because you need huge batteries to be able to compete with combustion engines. But when you foil it, you drastically drop the consumption. We have the same consumption in 5 knots as you have in 20 knots.
The company is working on a water taxi and a ferry using the same technology. Candela hopes its hydrofoils will become a regular means of traveling in Venice, reducing pollution and erosion.
We have all seen how electrical vehicles have changed the pattern we travel on land. Now it's time to do that on sea.
Scientists say one of the largest dinosaurs on Earth lived down under. A fossilized skeleton nicknamed Cooper was discovered in Australia back in 2007, but paleontologists have just now scientifically described and named the species. Meet Australopithecus cooperensis. To get an idea of this beast's size, it's estimated to have been about 21 feet tall and almost 100 feet long. The plant-eating dinosaur probably looked similar to the well-known Brachiosaurus. The reason it took scientists so long to put the pieces together is because they literally had to do just that. Its massive bones were stored in museums hundreds of miles apart. Researchers had to scan each one and then use digital 3D technology to put them together and compare them to similar species. Next time you're in the grocery store or farmer's market, be sure to shop for a range of fresh fruits and vegetables. Let's look at 6 of them and their health benefits.
Welcome to Strong Mind and Body. I'm Gina Marie. So what makes one food better than the other? That question may be easy to answer when comparing an apple with a Twinkie, but what about an apple versus an orange or a carrot? Fruits and vegetables contain an amazing abundance of nutrients. Some can be more beneficial than others depending on our nutritional needs. There are quite a few worth working into your diet as often as possible. Let's look at our top 5 picks. Number 1, kale. Kale has a vast array of nutrients including protein, fiber, essential vitamins including A, C, E, and K, and minerals and antioxidants. When in doubt what vegetables to eat, go to leafy greens. Examples include kale, spinach, chard, and collards. Green foods help to alkalize our bodies like no other foods can. This can neutralize all the coffee, alcohol, and sugar we consume. If you're not already eating leafy greens daily, try working them in now. They saute and stir fry easily and can be added to just about anything, including smoothies. Number 2, berries. Like leafy greens are a go-to for the vegetable options, berries are one of the best choices in the fruit department. They're less sweet than most other hybridized fruits like bananas or grapes. They're also a terrific opportunity to up your intake of essential vitamins like beta-carotene and vitamin C. They also contain powerful antioxidants that have been shown to decrease the risk for certain types of cancer. Number 3, broccoli. Broccoli is a cousin of kale, as both are members of the cabbage family. Broccoli has some of the many benefits found in kale. They include vitamins and minerals along with plant compounds that can boost immune function and prevent free radical damage. Not only is broccoli healthy, but it's incredibly versatile. Try it steamed, sauteed, or pureed into a creamy soup. Number 4, sweet potatoes. Most of us just eat tubers during the holiday season, but you can find sweet potatoes available year-round. Sweet potatoes contain large amounts of beta-carotene. This is excellent for your skin, and it can also boost immune function. They are a great source of soluble fiber, protein, vitamin C, calcium, and iron also. Number 5, spinach. Whether you're eating spinach raw or cooked, you're doing yourself a huge favor. This delicate leafy green is quite the powerhouse. It's a wonderful source of daily iron, vitamin K, B vitamins, and plant-based omega fatty acids. They play a crucial role in managing inflammation. And number 6, olives. Olives are fruit, and while we don't eat them fresh off the tree, we can include them in our diets in their most common form, oil. The olive is a source of healthy monounsaturated fat and can also help us to maintain a healthy weight. Olives are also loaded with minerals like magnesium that can also help to protect our hearts and cardio functions.
And that's all for now. Catch us again tonight at 6:30 Eastern. I'm Kevin Hogan.
We have a new channel. Subscribe to us on YouTube at NTD News. Get the highlights of our news broadcast and the most important headlines that we curate especially for you.
Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.